Abraham Lincoln emerged during rising tensions over slavery in the United States. As new states formed, conflict between North and South grew. Lincoln opposed slavery's expansion and believed in gradual, lawful change. Known for honesty and simplicity, he became a key leader whose actions during the Civil War led to slavery's end. Welcome to Reality Flash, where every second is a door to the unexplained. Here, we don't just tell stories, we awaken your curiosity about the mysteries that shape our world. Stay with us, and let the journey redefine time itself. To understand the early life of Abraham Lincoln, it is necessary to know some history of America. Even after 100 years had passed since the so-called discovery of America by Christopher Columbus, the English were not fully aware of the opportunities that this new world offered. From the 17th century, English settlement in America gradually began. Poor people and adventurers from England started coming to this new world in groups. Later, not only from England but also from other countries in Europe, people began to arrive. However, the English were the most dominant in settlement. Out of the total population coming from Europe, about 80% were English. By the middle of the 18th century, the 13 colonies that had developed were culturally influenced mainly by England. Due to social, economic, and political reasons, and because of geographical distance, those who were once English gradually became Americans in this new land. When the rulers of England tried to strengthen their political control over this new territory and hurt the economic interests of the Americans, the 13 colonies declared independence on July 4, 1776. These colonies united and took the name United States. The northern part of this new nation became a center of trade and maritime commerce. Industry was established there, and cities like Boston, New York, and Philadelphia developed as economic centers. On the other hand, from Virginia to Texas, the southern region was mainly agricultural. Crops like cotton, sugarcane, indigo, and tobacco were cultivated there. For this agricultural work, enslaved black people brought from Africa were used as laborers. There was already conflict between the North and South over economic interests, and along with that, disagreement over slavery increased. From the 16th to the mid-19th century, English and other European traders imported millions of enslaved Africans, carrying out the cruel business of human trafficking. They exported cheap goods, guns, and gunpowder to Africa and, in exchange, brought black people to sell in American colonies and other places. These enslaved people were not considered human beings, they were treated like beasts of burden. To escape the torture of their masters, they would sometimes flee, but were hunted down with dogs and often killed. Gradually, questions about the injustice of slavery began to arise in America. In 1774, representatives of the American colonies agreed that the ultimate goal would be to abolish slavery, though for the time being, the import of enslaved people from Africa would be stopped. More and more white Americans began to realize that slavery contradicted the ideals of their struggle for freedom. Public opinion against slavery became especially strong in the northern states. Many founding leaders, such as George Washington, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, and James Madison, were opposed to slavery. Although the northern states were largely free from slavery, the southern states continued to depend heavily on it, especially for cotton cultivation. The wealth of southern plantation owners was built on the labor of enslaved people. Naturally, they did not want to abolish the system that supported their prosperity. Initially, the United States consisted of 13 states. Like different states in India, these states had considerable independence, especially in internal matters. Over time, more states joined the Union. In 1812, Louisiana was purchased. Later, Florida was acquired, and in 1845 Texas joined the Union after separating from Mexico. California followed 2 years later. With immigration from Europe increasing rapidly, the population of the United States grew, and its territory expanded westward. As new states were added, conflicts arose over whether they would allow slavery. Northern states opposed the inclusion of new slave states, while southern states supported it. This led to serious disputes, especially over Missouri. Eventually, compromises like the Missouri Compromise were made, attempting to balance slave and free states, but these solutions were temporary. Over time, tensions between North and South grew stronger and eventually led to the American Civil War. In this conflict, Abraham Lincoln played a central role. When Lincoln was elected to Congress from Illinois, the United States was already at war with Mexico, and slavery was one of the root causes of that war. Those who supported slavery wanted to expand the nation's territory to increase slave-based agriculture. Lincoln understood this motive from the beginning and opposed the war, even though it was unpopular in his state. He recognized that public opinion against slavery was gradually growing. After his term in Congress ended, he returned to his legal profession. Although he was offered a position as governor of Oregon, he declined it based on his wife's advice, a decision that likely kept his life on its destined path. During his time in Washington, Lincoln gained a broader understanding of the entire nation and saw slavery more closely, as Washington itself was a center of slave trade. By the age of 40, he already felt aged beyond his years. Due to family troubles, he often preferred traveling for legal work rather than staying at home. Though law initially attracted him, it later became just a means of livelihood. However, he became known as a skilled lawyer for his analytical ability and debating skills, and his greatest reputation was for honesty. He advised himself always to remain truthful, even if it meant leaving the profession. Lincoln lived a simple life, regardless of his income. He had no desire to become wealthy and believed that wealth meant unnecessary accumulation. Even before becoming president, he lived modestly, doing household tasks himself. His lifestyle remained simple throughout his life. His law office was unorganized, with books scattered and papers often kept in his tall hat. He would even bring his children to the office and allow them to play freely. Outwardly, it might have seemed that he was not very serious about work, but during this time, he deeply studied the writings of the nation's founders and thinkers like Shakespeare, Thomas Paine, and Voltaire. Lincoln was not physically attractive but had great inner strength and presence. When he spoke, his expressions and voice captivated audiences. His greatness came from inner power and sincerity. People trusted him completely and believed he would stand beside the poor and helpless. He often debated slavery with his partner Herndon, who supported immediate abolition. Lincoln, however, believed slavery was wrong but preferred its gradual removal through legal means rather than violence. He also believed that slave owners should be compensated. Lincoln knew that sudden abolition could disrupt the American economy, which was heavily dependent on slavery. Therefore, he opposed violent methods. Ironically, history placed him in a position where he had to lead a bloody civil war that ultimately resulted in the freedom of enslaved people, one of history's greatest ironies. Thank you for watching Reality Flash. If this journey inspired you, be sure to subscribe, click the bell icon, and share your thoughts. Stay curious, and we'll see you in the next adventure.